You are tuned into Community Chat. This particular series of programs that you are going to be seeing over the next few weeks will be geared towards candidates running for local office. And because of COVID-19, I feel that this is kind of an essential way to help all of the candidates to be able to get their word out, to be able to share with the voters and the residents who they are, and help the voters be able to make the right decision when they go into the voting booth come June 23rd. Joining us today is Alex Bezanson. Alex, welcome to Community Chat, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for having us.
You got it. So right out of the box, for anybody who is new to town government or may not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name's Alex Bezanson. I've been in Abington since about 1987, and I am a local business owner. I own a small contracting business along with my wife, Lisa. I've served on many boards, well, a few boards and committees in town. I was first appointed to the Conservation Commission, and I served about 23 years on that board, 15 years as chairman. I then was elected to the Water Commission, and I served as a water commissioner. And after that, in 2015, I ran for the Board of Selectmen, and I was successful. I served my 3-year term. And in 2018, I was a Democratic nominee for state representative. So I chose not to run for re-election for the Board of Selectmen at that time. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends who you ask, I wasn't successful in the state rep race. And I really had no intention of running again for the Board of Selectmen, but I think with the things that are going on in town now, I think the town needs somebody with my experience on the Board of Selectmen, and that's why I decided pretty much at the last minute to jump in the race.
So besides experience, what are some of the other reasons why you're going to seek another time or another term on the Board of Selectmen?
Well, I think I have a record of getting things done. When I was on the board in 2015, Abington had been negotiating with Brockton for about 5 years for sewer. We had reached our capacity of 1 million gallons per day, and we could not pump any more sewer to Brockton, which meant we could not issue any building permits because we couldn't use water or sewer. Around that time, or shortly there before, my good friend, God rest his soul, Bill Carpenter, was elected mayor of Brockton. And I went to Bill when I became a selectman, and I said, Bill, we need this. Brockton it's hurting Abington because we can't expand at all without sewer. So Bill and I met several times, and finally I remember one Sunday morning he called me and says, you make a good argument, we're going to give you another 500,000 gallons a day, which opened up all the new construction you've seen since 2016 in Abington. Now, some people will say, well, you know, we don't want to overbuild and we don't need more construction, but we do need more construction because all those properties pay property taxes. And I think with planned growth like we're doing, I think we need the growth and we need the tax revenue. Another thing I did when I was on the board, some residents, Lauren Sweeney and Sue McHugh, came to me and Kenny Coyle about a dog park. So Kenny and I formed the Abington Dog Park Committee. We looked at several parcels of land, and we finally asked the Board of Selectmen to let us build the dog park on a lot next to the senior center. And that dog park was built for about $200,000. And we got most of that in a grant, and the committee raised about 10%. And that dog park is there now. Also, as a selectman, I lobbied for the stretch code, which is an energy code when you're building new construction. And we did finally pass that at town meeting, and that was one of the final pieces of the puzzle to become a green community. And with that, we got a grant of $164,000 for energy saving items like light bulbs and whatever else we wanted to convert. And then I think the best thing that I did as a selectman was I formed the Abington Substance Awareness Coalition. And our mission is to bring early education to our students, primarily targeting our middle school students, because we think they're the most vulnerable. And we brought in quite a few speakers into the schools over the years. And we were able to get a grant a few years ago. And with that grant, we were able to, Lisa and I have been working for several years to bring a Boys and Girls Club to Abington. And with that grant, we were able to fund the Boys and Girls Club that started in April for an after-school program at the Frollo School for the middle schoolers. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it's at a standstill now, but I'm told it will resume in the fall. So, like I said, I have a record of getting things done. I don't just go to the meetings and go home, and I work as your selectman, and I get things accomplished. If someone comes to me with an issue, I try to resolve the problem if there is a problem, or you know, do whatever it takes to help the residents and the town.
You mentioned during your last statement about water, sewerage. Talk about the importance of having a sufficient amount of sewerage or water when it comes to economic development.
Well, like I said, Abington was at a standstill. Abington could not issue building permits in 2015 because we had reached our maximum of 1 million gallons a day. We do pay Brockton for sending our sewer over there, and we're paying them to send this additional 500,000. But without the sewer, we can't build. We have some projects going on now in town that up at the old mattress factory, they call it, and that's going to be an awful lot of tax dollars to the town. There's a nice development of homes going up off 139. That's all due to the sewer that we got in 2016 from Mayor Bill Carpenter.
So I would ask you, kind of continuing on that trend and talking, you know, one of the larger developments that Abington is a part of with two other communities, that's the Naval Air Station, the Weymouth Naval Air Station, which seems to have had its troubles with retaining developers or an organization to be able to oversee it. I mean, right now, you know, we're going from having it being Union Point, and who knows what it's going to be renamed now, but this is, it was Southfield before that. What are your thoughts on this moving forward, and how water and sewer will or will not play a role in how that parcel of land is developed?
Well, I'm hopeful, finally. I was hopeful with the last master developer, but Abington's parcel over there, I understand, is about 40 acres of commercial land. We do not allow residential in our section. I've heard rumors that the new master developer is going to want us to amend that to residential. I'm not in favor of that. They'd have to do a lot of things for me to be in favor of changing regulations to residential. But I'm definitely in favor of commercial development over there, and we have the sewer capacity to do that. The problem right now is we don't have enough water to support the 500,000 gallons of sewer capacity that we have. I was told by the former superintendent of the water that you need about 750,000 gallons of water a day to support 500,000 gallons of sewer. And I know they were working on some things, and they were working on some things with Union Point. And I'm not sure where that stands now, because everything at Union Point was at a standstill. But I'm hopeful that they can resolve the water issues, and maybe even tie into Weymouth with the water, which was the plan originally with the last master developer. But I was told that was about 4 years down the road, and it would have to go through Braintree and some other towns and other areas in order to get here, and it was quite expensive. So I'm not sure where that stands, but I'm hopeful that they can resolve the water issue. If we had 40 acres of commercial development in Union Point, at one point we were told it could be $4 to $6 million per year in tax revenue for us, which is sizable amount of money for a town like Abington.
Is it worthwhile to, when we talk water and having enough water to complement the sewer capacity, is that something where you go back to the city of Brockton and talk with them? Or is there a venture to hook into MWRA? Either one, if you hook in MWRA, that could be a costly adventure, but it could help unlock those millions of dollars.
When I was on the Water Commission, I suggested that we go to Brockton, because they have unlimited water, basically, if we want to buy it. I was told we would have to run different pipes because they didn't want to mix the water from the desal plant with our water. So I'm not sure if that's been worked out, if they've been talking on that, but that's definitely something that we could look into. I think the investment in the water infrastructure is going to be well worth it if we can get $4 to $6 million per year in tax revenue and jobs. If it's commercial, it's jobs, and they could be good jobs for Abington residents.
Well, let's talk budget. Here we are. We're 2 weeks out from the annual town meeting. There's been a lot of question marks. There's been as to the budget and how it's going to look. Will there be issues as far as making cuts to certain departments? Will there have to be will the town have to go with the 1/12 budget method for fiscal 2021? What are your thoughts in regards to the town's fiscal health moving forward, 2021 and beyond?
Well, I think this whole COVID thing has kind of thrown a monkey wrench into everything. I think the cherry sheet's going to be lower from the state than we anticipated. I heard could be 10%, but that doesn't mean 10% of our total budget. That means 10% of what we're getting from the state. But there's also lots of state, county, and federal grants out there to help us recover from COVID-19 also. And I know the town manager has spoken to the Plymouth County Commissioners. They had received $90 million, and the state has, about $210 million of that same program, I believe. So I'm hopeful that we're not going to have a major problem this year, but I think some of the issues that we're going to see a year from now is the meals tax, which it's about $275,000 a year, I think Abington gets, and the unemployment. I think this is going to be a long-term thing, and people are going to be struggling to pay their mortgage, pay their taxes. We're not going to be getting the meals tax that we had hoped this year. We're going to have people unemployed. I think the town needs to take a hard look at capital spending and put that off, just like we would have to put off in our own household. Well, we don't buy a new car this year, we buy it next year maybe. And I think that's where we need to start, is with the capital spending. And then I'm not sure what we have in our stabilization fund, rainy day fund, but I think just like us at home, some of us have had to hit our savings during this time, and I think the town may have to do the same thing. I don't think I would be in favor of an override to get through this. I think if we take a hard look at the budget and and grants and other monies that are available, I don't think that would be necessary.
You mentioned capital spending. Probably one of the prime conversations that's been percolating over the past week or two is about building a new fire station. Is that something that should be discussed still at this upcoming town meeting, just so at least folks can get a general scope of the cost of the project? Maybe not necessarily approve it, but understand that if they did vote on it this town meeting, what it could be, what the compounding interest would be if they waited until the fall or waited until next spring. What are your thoughts?
Well, I am definitely in favor of a new fire station. We are very lucky in Abington to have a fire crew that we have. I've seen them outside the fire station, actually with our softball event and other things. They just gel. I mean, it's a great group of guys and girls, and they get along great. They're very hardworking, and they're all very professional, and we need a professional facility for them. I'm not sure how old our buildings are, but they're quite old, and I know there's asbestos and other problems. And I think the biggest problem is decontamination. So with that said, this is not the year to build a fire station. If it went to town meeting, I don't believe it would pass this year. I think they need to work for the next year, getting all their facts and figures firmed up. I think they need to have some open meetings where the residents can ask some questions. And I think we need to put off a vote on that until next spring's town meeting. We would have to acquire some land anyway, if it was going to go on Glenowitz Way, which I understand is the first choice. So that's not going to happen between now and town meeting anyway. And it's not going to happen between now and a fall town meeting. So I think we need to move forward with it. We need to have some public hearings so the residents can ask the questions. We need to firm up the numbers. We need to acquire that land. But yes, I'm in favor of doing a new fire station down the road.
Where does education fall in regards to the budget? Any concerns? I know that years ago there were issues in regards to when the town was having fiscal issues, that there might have been some problems as far as being able to make sure you had enough funding to keep teachers and do what you did now. I mean, over the past couple of years, the town's been able to build a new senior high school. What do you do to kind of maintain and keep moving forward, make sure that a quality education is being provided to Abington residents?
Well, as you know, and as most of the residents probably know, the biggest part of our budget is the school. I'm not in favor at all of laying off any teachers, but if we do have to tighten our belts, I think they need to look elsewhere and do that. The classroom sizes are big enough now. We can't increase the classroom sizes at all. And I'm just talking hypothetical, maybe there was some programs that we could eliminate if we had to save some money. And I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying if we had to, I would want to look at programs and if there's any capital spending there and put that off for a year or two. But I'm not in favor of laying off teachers at all.
And when you go back to something that you had mentioned earlier about the meals tax, and a lot of communities kind of bought into that back when we saw the uptick of the sales tax, that 0.75% that to go back to communities when folks made purchases at local restaurants in that particular community. Is there something that can be done proactively? Because there is an anticipation that we could see another surge when it comes to COVID-19. Is there something that whether it's the Board of Selectmen or the town can do collectively to help local businesses be able to endure a second surge and still be able to make money and still have that revenue coming to the town too?
Well, I don't think you can have it both ways. I'm just not sure it's doable, but it's not a lot of money on the on your bill at a restaurant anyway. I think some of the things that we can do as a town, and I know the selectmen, Scott's starting to look into this, is outdoor seating for restaurants. I think we need to do that for the restaurants that don't have outdoor seating. I think if we could add outdoor seating and open the restaurants up at a smaller capacity, it might balance out. But a lot of these restaurants, if you have to go at 50% capacity, it's not worth them opening up with the payroll and the food costs and utilities and everything else. It's just not worth it. I've spoken to some friends that own restaurants in Boston, and they're saying the same thing. There's some restaurants in Boston that may never open. There are some that are never going to open again. Some big name restaurants. There's Stella's in the South End. Been there 15 years. They're not reopening. So it's a tough problem that we have, and we really don't have answers for probably another 3, 4, maybe 6 weeks to see how this goes as we start opening up.
As time winds down in our conversation, I think we've kind of hit on a lot of the probably the common issues that are involved with a selectman's race. But you can't hit every one of them during a conversation. Is there any that you feel are major issues that aren't being discussed? Maybe they're not. Maybe it's not an atypical or B-typical issue, but it's still an issue. Maybe it's something that's being talked about by residents on social media or in certain circles.
Well, I think to answer that, I have a few things that I would like to accomplish if I'm elected. And one of them is I would like to hire a town planner. I know we're talking about cutting budgets, but if we could partner with Rockland and or Whitman and hire a town planner for the 3 towns, I think the money that we would make with commercial development, it would be worth doing so, even if it was a part-time person split between the 3 towns. So I would like to look into hiring a town planner. I would like to do an inventory of all our playgrounds, parks, basketball courts, baseball fields. And this is something that I wanted to get started on in 2018. And then, as I said, I didn't run again. But I would like an inventory of all the parks, what we need to upgrade those parks to today's standard. And I would like to borrow the money to do that and pay it back with grants and community preservation funds, not tax dollars. And the other thing I would like to work on is a grant writer. I think we need to train our department heads on how to go after these state, federal, county grants. There's a lot of money out there that can make a big difference in our budgets if we know how to go after it. And I know the fire department has been doing a great job over the last few years doing that. But we need, and the police department has gotten some grants, but we need to actively, aggressively go after grants. And if we need to hire a part-time grant writer, it would pay for the grant writer in no time. So those are 3 issues that I'd like to work on if I get reelected.
You know, part of running for office is being able to engage the other candidates in conversation about the issues. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least in the same room. But if there was a way to do it virtually, would you be interested in doing a political forum with the other candidates who are in the race?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay.
I think the more the residents can see the candidates, the better off they are.
Okay. As we have just a couple of moments left here in this conversation, is there anything else that we haven't touched upon, but you feel that you'd like to take a moment to discuss?
Well, I just think if people would look at my background, both with my volunteering for the town, and just so everyone knows, all these positions in town are voluntary. The selectmen don't get paid, the water commissioners don't get paid, the conservation commission doesn't get paid. So I commend anyone that runs for office and spends time volunteering for a board. But my family's been very involved in Abington since we moved here. It was shortly after we moved here that I got appointed to the Conservation Commission. My wife Lisa and I, and my family has started the Hug Foundation of Massachusetts, which is a charity that we raise money and we help out local people and causes. And a lot of people, I think, know us by Bruins alumni game for the Hug Foundation, our softball tournament we do every year. So I think if people look at my background with my community work that I've done, my family's done, and my experience, I think they'll see that I'm the right choice to be their selectman.
And if folks wanted to find out more about you, is there a way for them to be able to contact you or reach out to you?
Sure. My cell phone number is 781-953-1236. And it's on my Facebook page, Alex Bezanson for Selectmen. And my personal page is also on Facebook. And my website is alexbezanson.org.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex, for being a part of this particular program to help residents get a better idea as to who you are as a candidate.
Thank you for all you do, Kevin.
You got it. And thank you at home for tuning into a segment like this as we seek to speak with each candidate and get their take on where they are with the issues and help you make a better informed decision when you go to pull your ballot or send in an absentee ballot. Until the next program, thank you very much for tuning into Community Chat. Have a good day.